Hi, and welcome to Meet Our Ex Success Story podcast. And today I'm going to be speaking with Catrina, who's going to share with us her carnivore journey. Hi, Catrina, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, Brooke. How are you?
Well, in fact, I didn't introduce myself, Brooke, so thank you for mentioning my name. Um, well, let's just get started. What's it been like for you on the carnivore diet, and what brought you to this diet?
I have to start at the beginning. And as I said to you previously, I don't have like great before and after pictures. I was never a fat person or a heavy person. But I always believed from the time I was a kid that you are what you eat, and I was always concerned with my health to a degree because I had a brother and sister who were type 1 diabetics at a very young age, 5 and 7. And horrific, in those days, especially, the 50s, the 60s. So basically, when I was a young teenager, I realized I was always constipated. I didn't think of it when I was young, but always struggling to have a bowel movement, always would eat and feel horrible, just fat. I was never fat, but I felt fat. From the time I was 14, 15 years old, I would have a meal and I was never really satiated, always wanted more. But I knew in my mind that if I ate the way I wanted to eat, I would be fat. So that's the reason I never got fat. I starved myself. From the time I was in high school, I just starved myself. I wouldn't eat all day long because, especially if I was going to go out, like on a Friday night and put my jeans on, I wanted my stomach to feel flat. So I would not eat all day. And then finally at night, I'd eat something and then I'd feel fat, And so I don't know. I always looked forward. I think a lot of people look forward to food. It's one thing we're allowed to do. There's nothing taboo about it. It feels good. It tastes good. We need it. So people go on vacation, they come back, what do they talk about? What they ate, their food. And I wanted to enjoy food, but I never really could because I didn't want to get fat. So in a sense, my vanity, I think, kind of saved me because I was eating the standard American diet. And also when I was young, I had we had 6 siblings, 2 of whom were diabetic. And it was basically my mom raising us, and she was, awesome. But she would go to the food store and buy 1 week's worth of groceries. We'd all put it away and then couldn't wait to eat. And she would date the cookies, what day they were allowed to be open because there were 6 of us and they'd be gone in a nanosecond, if she didn't do that. So luckily we weren't really allowed to overeat sweets and stuff. We had to eat our meals and that was it. So basically, I seemed healthy enough. I always felt I was a tomboy and very active all my life. I was a dancer when I was young. And so I always got a lot of exercise and maintained. I was still about 20 pounds heavier than I am now, but I was not fat or heavy at all. But I had a lot of people commenting and even therapists, that I had an eating disorder. And all during my high school years, I had a girlfriend and all we did was search for diet pills. In those days, diet pills were the thing. And neither one of us wanted to be hungry all day and to starve, but we were hungry, and after we ate a carb meal. And so and I'm going to say that I think it kind of started me into wanting drugs like that just to maintain my weight,
Just resisting food.
Resisting food. Yeah. And so for years that went on. And, even when I was a young adult, I had one son and I had him when I was 19 years old. So we're 20 years apart, we're good friends. And he actually introduced me to paleo. So, but anyway, in my young life, I was always looking for a way to eat so that I could really eat and feel full,
Yeah.
but not gain weight. And so I tried macrobiotic. I tried then, just another vegetarian type. And then for years, I just starved myself.
Did you stumble on the Atkins diet at all during this time?
I didn't. I read or heard something that a woman was on the Atkins diet and then she ate a bunch of carbs and had a heart attack. And so that's all I heard. I never really looked into it. And he died, and I never knew he died from an accident. Everybody thought he died because of his diet.
I know it's like you're not allowed to die if you have a good idea,
right? Or just recently, a girlfriend of mine, she has a doctor, a surgeon friend, and she was telling him about my diet, and he said, "Well, I'll see her on my table someday," and I thought, why don't they say, "Well, gee, how's her blood pressure? How's her weight? How's her energy? How does she feel?" Why don't they ask any of those questions? But anyway.
Hey, I have to ask you, all those years of resistance, and you already hinted to it anyway to me, but all those years of resistance, it's got to equal tanking your thyroid.
It could, but I have to say, I go to Dr. Sivas now. I see him remotely, and he's been working on my thyroid, and it's not Hashimoto's, so it's not autoimmune. My whole family is on Synthroid. I don't know if it's a DNA thing or what. I'm hoping to find out and to, I would love to heal it, but it's hardly a problem, to take a little pill, and as long as you have the dosage right. That's the hard part,
That's the tricky part, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not static, things change.
Yeah.
So where was I? Okay, so I tried macrobiotic, vegetarian, and then I just, was on the standard American diet, and always being told that I have an eating disorder because I wouldn't eat.
Yeah,
finally, my son,
the salad diet.
Oh my God. And, I was never crazy about salads or greens, but of course that was my main food. So a couple of years ago, I lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey all my life. I worked there. And then my son moved to California, my only son, about 15 years ago. So when I got ready to retire, I thought I'm going to move to California because I want to be with my grandbabies, which I knew he was going to have soon. So anyway, in 2013, about 8 years ago, I moved here. And a couple of years later, David, my son, started telling me about paleo. So I tried it and I liked it. I really liked it. But it made me feel good, but I still was craving the sweets because you're allowed to have sweet potatoes and you're allowed to have, what did my son make every night? Fried plantains, and they were so sweet and so good. But I would sit in front of the TV at night and eat a whole bag of crispy plantain chips, and stuff like that. So after a while, that was just as bad as eating any other kind of sugar. And then he mentioned the keto diet to me. And that was about, I guess, 2.5 years ago. I think I was on keto for about 1.5 years. And when I first began, it was very strict keto. I really watched to stay under 20 grams of carbs, and I loved it. And it was good, but I kept adding more and more vegetables just to fill up my plate, and Dr. Sivas, we had a meeting in April of 20, and he mentioned, he doesn't even eat vegetables. It was the first time I heard carnivore, and he said, he'll eat them occasionally. There's nothing against them. But so that's when I completely stopped that day eating anything other than meat. And naturally, when you realize, well, I'm only going to be eating meat, you feel like you have to really fill your plate up with meat. You know what I mean? And I guess in a sense you do. So I started doing that. And the first meal I had, it was a lot of meat. And when I finished, I thought to myself, did I just eat? Did I really swallow and chew everything? Because I didn't feel a thing. No bloating. No gas.
Isn't that amazing?
I was so gassy on the keto diet. I used to think it's a good thing I live alone. could never sit and hold this in all night. It's ridiculous. So when I had that first meal of just animal food, I was like, wow, I've been constipated my whole life. And even during keto, you know, I had a lot of gas, but constipation. And yeah, the transition, I did have the runs for a few days, not weeks, just a few days. But when you're constipated all your life, I didn't care if I had some runs. I was happy, you know, out is always better than in. But I mean, what a difference in my life. To me, it's a life change to not worry about whether you're going to go to the bathroom or not, you know, especially when you go on vacation or anywhere. You know, it's like you had to bring things with you to make sure it's just awful. And so that was amazing to me the first day. And I was like, wow, this is really awesome, because they tell you about fiber. I ate so much fiber trying to get my bowels to move that, you know, all it was doing, I guess, was clogging me up and giving me gas.
And the bloating, you know, after a meal, it became just so normal. You'd be a little bloated because you just ate.
Yeah, I just assumed everybody felt that way after eating. And, you know, tight pants and loosening the zipper, and didn't matter how thin I was, I felt fat. So, you know, it's really all about how you feel, not really how you look, not how, you know, not the numbers on the scale. So that started me on the carnivore journey. And like I said, that's been about a year ago. And I've learned stuff, you know, different things. Some things are better for me than others. And, you know, some meats I like better, and I appreciate them more. But I've also realized that I was particularly allergic to greens. And I never really realized it, but I remembered when I was a kid, like around 7 years old, I used to do cartwheels in the grass all day long. You know, I just loved doing cartwheels. And I had the most horrible rashes up the sides of my arms, all the way up, and my hands. And I still have, look at this. This is scar tissue.
Yeah.
This was my worst finger. I had cuts from rashes, eczema, psoriasis, whatever. The doctors, stop eating strawberries, stop eating peanuts. Nothing ever helped. But as I got older, it went away. So then when I bought my first house and I went out and I started pulling some weeds, and my arms were touching the grass and stuff, I started getting the same rash again. And that, you know, light bulb. All those years doing cartwheels and that horrible rash was from the grass. I was allergic to the green, you know, but I didn't realize that. So a step further, I mean, grass is, you know, it's a vegetable. I mean, everything green.
It's a plant.
It's a plant. And
I have spewing out all kinds of chemicals, you know, creating its own little protective chemicals.
Yeah. So getting rid of all of them for me has helped tremendously. And I don't miss it. I mean, I used to like broccoli raw because I put butter and garlic and all that stuff on it. But basically, you know, I'm happy to be just a strict carnivore. And
what's eating? Tell us what's a typical day of eating for you?
Typical day. Okay. Like yesterday I had, I usually get hungry around 10:30 in the morning, sometimes a little later. And so I'll eat when I get hungry. And in the morning or my first meal is usually like maybe a burger. Yesterday it was a big, nice piece of salmon and a burger. And I always fry everything in my beef tallow, which I now make, and nice and, you know, black on the outside and rare on the inside. And that's what I had for the first meal. And then later at night, I'll have a steak. I buy 7 steaks a week from my butcher, and I have a steak at night and a lot of organ meat. I've been eating sweetbreads, liver, heart, and kidney. And
nice. About that with your evening meal?
With my evening meal, I'll have at least 2 organs, usually sweetbreads and either liver or heart, whatever I have. Yeah, and that's it, those meats. And, you know, when and another thing that it's really helped me is take my time eating. You know, when you have 6 siblings and you sit down to eat, you're like, plus carbs are easy to eat fast. You don't even hardly have to chew them. So now I have to chew my meat, and it takes me a nice time to eat my meal, and I finally eat more slowly, which is better for your digestion. And so that's an awesome thing, because I tried to eat more slowly for years, and I always thought, well, it's just my background, all those kids, you had to eat what you could get, while you could get it.
So the fat is like the fat on the steak and the fat that you cook it in, pretty much.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You don't feel the need to add extra fat, or do
well you? I put like what you would say, two nice slabs of butter. I put 2 nice slabs of tallow in the pan, and my steaks are pretty fatty. My butcher gives me, I tell him I want all the fat, so I eat all the fat, unless it's that real hard fat that you can't chew. Anything I can't chew, I don't swallow, because I figure, it needs to melt down in my body.
So are those ribeyes? Or
yeah, ribeyes. Mm-hmm.
Nice. And so your butcher gives you the organs? You get the organs from your butcher?
He gives me the heart and the kidneys. I order the Sweetbreads from Gelson's, actually. And I get like 11 pounds at a time. Yeah.
So that comes frozen? The Sweetbreads come frozen?
Comes frozen, yeah. And
the liver. I have to ask, how do you prepare your Sweetbreads?
I do everything in one pan. Hot tallow, sizzle them up. Usually I take the steak out first, even though they're pretty thick steaks. I like it rare on the inside. So I take that out of the pan first, because I like the organs cooked well, especially liver. It just tastes better if it's blackened, to me. But I always cook everything in one pan. I fry everything.
Okay, what about those
big mess?
What about those kidneys? Okay. Like the kidneys have sometimes they have a stronger taste. So I'm just curious of how you're cooking your kidneys.
See, I don't feel that. I slice them thinly.
Yeah.
And, the fat that's around them, I always cook them in their fat. And they taste great to me.
Yeah, no, I like them too. But there was one time I had a batch of kidneys that had a strong taste. And I thought, oh, this is what people are talking about. But generally, I find it very delicious.
Maybe there was something with those kidneys, I don't know. But I've never
something.
Yeah, I've never had a strong taste, which is what I love about my butcher. He's it's a halal butcher, so they're careful the way they kill and everything. That means a lot to me. But the animal is only dead 2 days when I get my meat, and most
okay, so it's really fresh.
Yeah, you can buy steaks. They're at least 3 to 4 weeks dead by the time you get them, if you buy them in a grocery store. So maybe that's the difference, because my organs always taste really good.
Fresh organs. That's great. That's great that you eat those every day, I think.
Yeah, especially with my thyroid and everything, since I'm trying to, the Sweetbreads. So I don't know. We'll see.
Do you tell us about how you think about the Sweetbreads?
How I think about them?
And your thyroid. Share with people.
Well, I mean,
it's a gland.
It's a gland, and the thymus, right? Gland, and the pancreas.
Yes.
Pancreas, diabetes. I got a lot of diabetes in my family, and the thymus.
Are these sheep Sweetbreads? Are they sheep? Are they from lamb?
Oh, sheep. No, they're bovine. The Sweetbreads are bovine.
Okay, they're from calf.
Yeah. Yeah. I get sheep and goats sometimes from my butcher, and I get fat. They supply me fat. I've been making my own tallow and my own cream. Thinking about starting a little business, because anyway, so yeah, I know. But emotionally, my life, I feel like my whole life has changed because of a diet. I look forward. My son was saying to me last night, it's funny, I never get tired of having my steak. He has a steak a night too, usually. And, normally you would get tired of things, I've had enough of this, but it's like your body's just always ready for what's good for it, And so I spend my days now thinking about other things other than food. I used to get depressed because nothing to look forward to today. What is there to look forward to today? And now I can find other things to look forward to. And I have, and I'm kind of busier now than I've been ever. And I don't have to worry about food anymore. It's easy. It's delicious.
That's great. And you have energy, and it
I have so much.
Fortifies you.
Oh, yeah. Fortifies me. I know. I work out at Cardio Bar 3 days a week. I used to do tap lessons, but they haven't opened up yet. I have so much energy.
Okay. You've always been fit, but have you noticed are there differences with body composition?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't say I've always been fit. I've always been thin.
Yeah.
I've never been fat, but if I had pictures, you could see I have so much more muscle tone, and it's so easy. Oh my gosh, if I'm not working out, if I can't make it, I get down and do a few push-ups. And I mean, my arms, it's just, they're so toned so easily from the protein, I guess, the meat, And my body has definitely taken on more muscle everywhere, especially my stomach. I used to always hold my stomach in because I was a dancer and they teach you to do that. But, I always had a flabby belly, even though I was thin. And now I'm just, I'm ripped. I'm 67 years old and I'm ripped. And
fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun and it feels good, especially not worrying about what am I going to eat today, or, wishing I could have seconds, wishing I could have more, that kind of a thing.
And how's your sleep?
Well, my sleep, I fall asleep around 7:30. I read, in front of, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go to bed. It's like when the sun goes down, I go down. And then at 3 a.m, I'm waking up and I'm lying there till I finally get up around 4:30. So it's different from most people, but I sleep well. It's just.
Yeah, you get enough sleep. It's just different times, I guess.
Yeah, different times.
So you're up at 5 a.m.
Oh, earlier than 4:30 usually, yeah.
Fantastic. So then you run out and do some exercise or go for a walk or something?
I get on the computer. I work for, my son's a headshot photographer, so I have a little job working for him. I do his scheduling. So I get up and I do have coffee. I have my Nespresso coffee with heavy whipping cream, which I whip. And so I have 2 cups of that while I'm doing my computer stuff. And then at 6:30, I take my 2 little dogs out for a walk for at least an hour. And then at 8 o'clock, I go for my workout and come home, and the rest of my day is free.
Yeah. So you work out fasted at this point. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do. I'm just not hungry. If I were really hungry, I would take a later class. I would eat, and take a later class. But
yeah. Sounds like a great program. And so you're drinking coffee and you're eating some dairy, or just the cream?
Just the cream. I tried cheese for a while, and I feel a little something in my stomach when I eat that. And I like it better when I don't feel anything, no rumblings, no gas, no nothing. So I figure, well, cheese isn't that great for me. But
what about eggs?
Eggs I eat. Eggs, I love my eggs. Fry them up dark, on the bottom, and
crispy on the top.
Yeah, loose yolk.
Yeah. Okay, so you're eating eggs and you're eating plenty of organ meat, and eggs are kind of like an organ meat too, I think. So you're getting plenty of all these vitamins. I mean, really, organ meats are like vitamin pills. And it sounds like you're doing that on the daily, and that's so I'm just curious, what have you discovered? Have you discovered anything new about your thyroid?
Well, Dr. Sivas, when he first did my blood work, thought even though my TSH looked right in the middle, according to my, all my other doctors. My T3 was low. So he raised my Synthroid for a while, and my TSH went really low, which means it's high. And my T3, I don't understand the T3, T4 and all that stuff.
The thyroid is such an enigma. It's like, I call it the Mona Lisa of the body, because it's just a mystery. No one knows what she's smiling about, because it's this whole cycle, T4, T3.
Yeah, T4 creates T3 or whatever. So I'm not.
And who invented that? You think they would have done the other three, four, but anyway, no, it really is a mystery. And it's such an interesting thing to unravel. And I'm curious whether that's changing for you.
Well, so he is now lowering my dosage again, and I'll have another appointment, in a month or so after I've been lowered for 2 months, and we'll see. I don't know. I've been on thyroid medication since I was 20 years old. So I wonder, is there anything left, of my gland? But I'm not on a real high dose.
I think it's helpful. I mean, I think that people can suffer for years, decades, without recognizing that they need some thyroid support.
I know. And it affects everything, including your mental capacity and your mood and everything.
So now, is your son carnivore?
My son is carnivore. Yep. He's not quite as strict as I am. He'll eat mushrooms. He likes mushrooms with his steak, and he'll eat an avocado. But that's it. Yeah. I mean, he's doing great. He loves it. It's the first time in his life. He's not like, he would go on a diet and, but I'm going to cheat on the weekend, and then, it'll all be over. The whole week was for nothing. But so he doesn't need to do that anymore. So it's a life changer for him too.
And it sounds like maybe he was paleo for a long time, early on.
He was paleo for a long time, and then he went keto, and then he started making the keto bread and all the keto snacks, and so that didn't work for him anymore. Dr. Cybus was the first one who told us, forget about, it's total carbs. It doesn't matter whether they're, I forget what they used to call the carbs that were okay.
Oh, net carbs.
Net carbs. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's total carbs that count. So,
that was always a funny little mystery, the net carb thing. Yeah, I like to say, you get fat adapted on keto and then come on home to carnivore.
Yeah, exactly. So
well, that's nice, the whole family now. And I have to ask, are there babies?
Babies? My grandsons, you mean? Okay. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh,
the year that I moved here, my first grandson was born on my 60th birthday.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so we have the same birthday, 60 years apart. I'll never forget his age.
It's never going to let you forget it. That's fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations.
And I'm trying to make sure Dad gets rid of all those snacks. It's hard because he has a certain amount of control, it tells him you can only eat this much, but still, they're eating those snacks and,
it's just all about quality, selecting quality.
Yeah.
It's
hard to select quality.
Not about carbs so much as quality.
Yes. Especially for kids, it's okay, carbs for little kids, but it's hard to find quality Oreos.
I just heard recently, like a couple months ago, that at one point Oreos and most of those snack foods, the fat was coconut oil. Coconut oil was used. So indeed it was more quality, because because I personally feel like it's really about the bad fat.
Oil. Yep.
Yeah. But at one point they were saturated. It was coconut fat that was used.
What I just found out? It wasn't until 1990 that McDonald's stopped using tallow.
That's right, and they were kind of forced to do that.
Yeah, because of the meat thing. And it made me feel so good because when I was raising my son as a single mom, we lived right next door to a McDonald's. And he was, that was way prior to 1990. So at least I thought, well, at least he didn't get too many PUFAs. You know, he was at least getting tallow.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a huge difference, actually. Yeah. Maybe they'll go back.
That would be nice.
That'd be nice. Well, it sounds like your diet's on point, and your morning routine is on point. It all sounds good.
Yeah, I'm happy and healthy.
And do you have any suggestions to someone who is starting?
Well, one of my sisters just started. She's had a lot of weight issues and health issues. And I said, look, if you have sugar cravings, have your iced tea that has the sweetener in it. Don't be afraid to have stuff that's sweetened with sweeteners until, your body gets used to it. I don't know. I mean, like there's a woman who walks here and she's so overweight. And I mean, every single day she's out there, when I'm out there with my dogs, and I've talked to her and, she doesn't like beef. She doesn't like meat. And I feel so bad for her because, she doesn't look like she's lost a pound or it's going anywhere. And it's been a couple of years that she walks. So, I mean, I would just tell people to try any kind of an animal base, if it has to be chicken or fish or whatever, if you don't like beef, but give it a try. Let yourself see, because, after you're finished with all the other stuff, you never know how your body's going to react. I just think most people are bloated and do get bloated tummies after they eat. And if they would just see how much better a meal with just, protein and fat feels, that would tell them everything. But, I guess we are all different. I always want to think, my way is everybody's way, but I know it's not. And so I would just tell people to hang in there at least 30 days. That's
give it a go. Yeah.
Yeah. My sister's doing it for 2.5 weeks so far. And she wrote me this morning a text. I'm kind of getting tired of eating, just meat. But the thing is, she has trouble chewing because of her teeth. Yeah. So she says, and I like filet mignon and it's expensive, So, eat ground beef. And
there's nothing wrong with ground beef. It's pretty tasty. Sometimes that's what I really want.
Yeah. If I want something really juicy and quick, me too. I love ground beef.
Well, you're such a shining example. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it and it's working well for you. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, Brooke, for having me.
Yes. Take good care.
Okay.